My name is Rick Schacht, and I'm a Minnesota State Racquetball Hall of Fame player and state champion, and I'm here to talk about surviving a EMS event and an LAD heart attack at the US Open, and hope to inspire people. What they wanted was some sort of a uplifting story about survival, something where after the conference everything deals with death and dying and all of the repercussions of being an EMS person, and they wanted to have some sort of uplifting story where they could say, you know, here's a guy that survived, here's something where your efforts are tangible, here's something that you see where the story turns out well, you know. Everything went right, they did it by the procedure, and so the story that I had certainly fits that criteria, and being able to tell it like I tell it, you know, have family, have kids, where a lot of people, where it doesn't just affect you, it affects more of, like I say, your grandkids, your wife, you know, your family, your friends, the whole ripple effect, which I kind of believe in, where, you know, a single action is going to change, you know, the universe, so to speak. And I kind of like that, and if I can get the message out and help these guys with their program, I can't really see what's wrong with that. Absolutely, racquetball saved my life in a sense that I wanted to be able to say, well, does racquetball matter or not? Well, a lot of people say, well, geez, you had the heart attack and you played racquetball and you worked out all the time, you still had a heart attack. My point of view is, had I not been playing racquetball, my heart wouldn't have been in such good shape. All the extra conditioning that I do afterwards, riding the bike, doing the extra laps on the track, lifting weights, prepared me for something that I really wasn't, you know, ready, that I didn't know I was going to do. Here I thought I was playing the game because I thought it was fun, which it is, and I like to compete, I do. But in the long run, in the scheme of things, I was really just training myself to get ready for a 10-minute racquetball match with death. And the ability to have that much dissolved oxygen in my system and to be in the kind of shape that I was, since I worked out so much, enabled me to hold my breath essentially that long. And, you know, for whatever reason, I don't know, but the engine fired after 10 minutes and I was able to survive again. A lot of people, you're not playing racquetball, you're not working out, you're not staying active and fit, is ball game. And, you know, when I kind of leave the house now, my wife says, well, are you going to play racquetball again? And I say, honey, racquetball saved my life. It's the whole reason I'm still here. I said I wouldn't be here if I wasn't playing racquetball. And so, yeah, if it gets me out of the house and I can go out, play and see the guys and have fun, that's kind of a tangible benefit now. But at the end of the day, you know, it's not about winning and losing anymore. It's about keeping my weight down. It's about keeping my cholesterol at 130. It's about keeping my blood pressure the way it's supposed to be. It's making sure my heart is being exercised so that if in the event, God forbid, something like this happens again, I can say I'm ready. You know, I'm conditioned for it. And so, yeah, racquetball saved my life just by the fact that, you know, my heart and the oxygen in my system was there. The day I got out of the hospital, they put me on a treadmill and said, well, we're going to go check your heart out. We're going to, you know, run it up and make sure that everything's good, the stent is good, you don't have any heart damage. The problem I had wasn't with my heart anymore. That was functioning better than it ever had. Now that I had the stent, it was all operating perfectly. The real damage I sustained was the collateral damage of keeping me alive during the CPR. I'd suffered 3 broken ribs, a bruised sternum, my lungs had filled up full of blood, nearly full of blood in the hospital. I dislocated my right shoulder. Those were the physical casualties of surviving, and I'm not complaining. Dave and Josh, they did a great job, and I'm certainly glad to do it. But that is what took the longest physically to get going. Mentally, I remember going back the day after I got out of the hospital and they said, yeah, your heart's good, Rick, we don't know what to do with you. And I said, well, do you want me to take off 2 or 3 days worth of work? And I says, could you take off a week? We'd really like it if you just take off a week, just sit on the couch and do nothing. Which is hard for me to do because I like being active and doing things. And once I got out of the hospital, and we drove over to St. Louis Park because I said I want to talk to the people, Troy and Morgan and Ryan, and thank them. And as we got there, they were actually having a staff meeting with people about the event and the tournament. And I called the front desk, and as soon as this gal answered, I started crying again. And I handed the phone to my wife. And she said, hi, I'm so-and-so and so-and-so. And she said, my husband's Rick Schacht. And she says, I know exactly who he is. She says, I was standing there when they were giving him CPR. Come on in, they're having the staff meeting. I walk in and the whole staff is there, and I didn't really care. At that point, you're so happy to be alive. You'll eat anything, do anything, say anything, because you're alive. And it's the best thing, it's great. And so I walked right into the room, and they all just stopped and got up and started clapping, and a few of the people came over and took the picture that I had in the presentation earlier of the four of us. And the guy says, you're a lot taller when you're standing up than when you're laying down. And that was all good. And they said something about giving me CPR and all of that kind of stuff. And I was just, you're just elated with life and how great it can be. And we were getting ready to walk out, and I said, thanks. And I looked at my wife, and I said, why don't you come down here? And I walked down the hallway where Court 8 was, and I opened the door, and I walked in, and I just got chills mentally, and it was just, I thought, I remember coming in here, but I don't remember going out. By the time I came out, I was on a stretcher. And that mentally was kind of a barrier. I thought my heart is going to be good. They're telling me it's good as ever. I'm thinking it was good as ever before, right? That's what you told me. But, my chest cavity was all smashed up, and mentally I just wasn't ready to go. But a couple days later, I was at Mayo, went through their cardiac rehab, starting the program there, and he says, yeah, you're good. He says, you can go and start hitting balls as soon as you want. The problem was, if you've played racquetball, expanding your chest and hitting shots and bending and the twisting was going to be a problem for a while because I couldn't do a lot of that. And for the first 2 or 3 weeks, I'd go in by myself and mentally just get over being in the court again and walking around and thinking, do I want to do this again or not? It was more of a psychological battle. And then I thought, once I get by that hurdle, how am I going to get by the physical battle, because my swing wasn't the same anymore. My chest didn't feel right, and I just wasn't sure I had it. I thought, this isn't the way it used to be anymore, and it just lacked its importance, and it still does to a certain extent. I still love to compete. I talked with you last week at the state tournament. A lot of guys would be really thrilled to get second in their age group. I lost by 3 points in a breaker. I'm thinking, a lot of people would like to be in those shoes. I'm like, yeah, it was a pretty good match. It was fun. I got a trophy. I know where I sit. No, it's okay. It's still that way. Physically, I was in with Ben Roy. I called him up about 3 weeks later, and I said, Ben, you and I were state champs last year in the 50 doubles. He goes, yeah? He goes, you're not thinking of playing, are you? And I said, absolutely. And so Ben and I talked a little bit, and he says, I'll play with you. We'll come back and defend. And I said, I'm not sure we're going to be able to defend as well. But I said, I got to decide, am I going to get busy living or get busy dying? And I said, I just put too much into the sport to just quit now. And I said, I think it'd be a disservice to all those people that saved my life to quit. Why would you want to quit? You don't ever quit. You never give up. I always told the kids that. And so, yeah, 6 weeks later, I was back in the court at the state doubles tournament, and I couldn't hit a forehand. As my chest would expand, and you try to step into it and swing, you couldn't do that. So I said, I'm going to be over here on the backhand side. I can drag my hand through. But I said, it's going to be lob serves and backhands. I said, Ben, anything over there is your job. Getting back in the court and the speed of the game, it just seems so much faster than what I remember before. I thought, wow, this is really fast. I used to do this. And I was just so, I was gun shy. And the second thing that was working on me was I had so many medications. I had my beta blocker for my heart. I was on that. I was on Plavix to make sure the stent healed. And so getting my heart rate up was a problem. I'd warm up for a half an hour and barely sweat. And then you go on the court and it's like the ball came by at 190 miles an hour. And it just took forever for me to get rolling. And I talked with Shannon that spring of 2014. I said, I finally feel like I'm coming back. And that was 6 months later. And that was just physically. Mentally, a year later at the US Open, they had the big 1-year anniversary of it. And I tell you, going back to that tournament, because everything in between there is the first of everything. You survived, you lived, and now it's my first birthday past. This happened in October, my birthday was in November. It's like, here's my first birthday back, my first Thanksgiving, Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day, all the birthdays for the kids. But in the back of my mind, there's still this big moment I got to get through of getting through the US Open again. I thought, do you even want to do this? And I thought, you have to. All these people are going to come back and they're going to want to talk to you.